this war went from special operation to, okay, it looks like we got to go all in. And the Russians will have to go. They cannot lose this war. They can't just back away from what happened. And the Ukrainians obviously can't lose either. Obviously, they want to keep their sovereignty, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, for them. So.
Well, they are losing a lot of people. I mean,
Yes.
the estimates are between 100,000 to 200,000 they've lost, and about 400,000 injured.
But listen, you wouldn't see that on Twitter. Oh, the Ukrainians are killing everyone. The Russians have no missiles. They're dying. They don't have any. They're all drunk. That's what you see on Twitter. You don't see the casualties of the Ukrainians or anything else. It's like obvious something's wrong over there. They have to get people from Syria to fight terrorists who get, by the way, the one guy was on video saying, yeah, we're getting $1,500 a month from France or something. Like, they're admitting that they're getting paid by the West. So it's like, wow, so that's why the Ukrainians, they're in a desperate situation, right? And when you're in a desperate situation, this is where you start doing assassinations, terror attacks on bridges, false flags with the dirty bomb, which may happen, even staging massacres. Like, I believe Bucha was there, what they did. I don't think the Russians did it. So you look into it, it's kind of strange, the timing of what happened. So you see,
because nobody's talking about it now. It's all quiet.
No. The first it was everywhere. Oh my God, Russia.
Yeah.
They said, okay, why don't you send your investigator? No, we're good. Well, what the hell? I mean, this is the time to show the planet that Russia did this massacre. But they didn't. It was Azov, because Azov said, we'll kill every we'll hunt them down like pigs.
Yeah.
And there's videos out there. For those of you who watch gore, they're out there. You could see. And look, Russia did, the guy Wagner castrated the guy. Okay, is that Putin's orders? No. Wagner is like Blackwater, right? I would say. Do whatever they want. So that guy did something terrible. They sold that to the whole world. Look at this man getting castrated. Oh my God. Why don't you show what the Ukrainians did? Why don't you show them? I saw a video, I think it was years ago during this the Donbass conflict, where they crucified a Russian on a cross and lit him on fire. Like, is that a war? I think it's a war crime, right? What's that?
Yeah,
so there's those videos there. I saw videos of them shooting civilians trying to escape the conflict, just shooting people in cars. That's not Russians doing it. That's the Ukrainians, the Azov. You're traitors, killing the people, collaborate. And we all saw the time they shot the Russians in the kneecaps. We saw that for sure. But this is the tragedy of war. Things will happen. People get upset. If your friends are being killed by Ukrainians, you might retaliate. I mean, the Americans did it in Iraq. People lost their friends they've been in boot camp with, friends with since high school. Friend gets blown up. They're going to throw a grenade in the house and maybe kill a whole family, out of anger. Sad. That's why we have to prevent this stuff.
That's right. I mean, I remember seeing women and children in Mariupol being holed up underground in those factories. And if Russia did that, the West would be saying stuff like, oh, they're keeping them hostage. Look how inhumane they are, blah, blah, blah. But because it's Azov is doing it, they're making the Azov sound like they're a bunch of heroes. And they're obviously holding these kids and women by force, because the whole point is, if they let them go, they're just going to be, Russia's just going to blow the whole place to smithereens, and they'll all be dead. And that's the only reason they've kept these women and children there, so Russia doesn't blow the whole place up.
Right, it's the human shields.
Yeah, exactly. And when they were released, all the West was saying, oh, these Azovs are now being transferred and they've been released, but they're not being released. They're going to jail. And it's funny how the West just twist the words, and they're making the Azov sound like they're heroes. And it got really bad at one point when I was walking down the streets in UK, and there was a couple of kids playing around with toy guns, and one of them was like, take that, Putin, take that. And the other guy was like, no, I'm the Azov. I want to be the Azov. I want to be the Azov. Oh God, there was these kids are completely been brainwashed. But yeah, it's really it's crazy how the West works. And I want to also talk about your experience with what you said about the IED, and do you want to kind of share what happened?
Yeah, so on my first tour, when we invaded, we were driving. I was in a Humvee, so even though I was a combat engineer, we do convoy security. So we're moving it up in a convoy. I was in a Humvee with my friends. I was on the 240 gun. The 240 Golf is a machine gun, and so we're just driving up the highway, and all of a sudden, pop! And we go, what the hell was it? And we see this white thing just go like this. It looked like a napkin or something. I don't know. It just would pop. And we're like, whoa. And my buddy was driving, my buddy Palmer. He's like, holy shit, what the hell was that? He's like, woo. We're all like excited. Ah, like just the adrenaline pump.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was that? We had no idea. We just kept going. So EOD went back. EOD is exploded ordnance disposal. Explosive ordnance disposal. I think I'm saying it right. Anyway, so they go back. They're the bomb guys. They go, yeah, actually, there was an IED there and misfired. So thank God it was, a misfire. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here talking, or I'd be here completely maimed or something. So that happened there. And I've seen other things happen too. I mean, I've seen Marines get hit by a mortar in front of me, get killed. They weren't my unit, but still, fellow Marines. That was sad. So I've seen death and destruction. I've seen the awesome power of our military. When I say awesome, I don't mean like this is great. I mean like holy God, like it's very powerful. The Iraqis had no chance at all whatsoever to even. They would surrender battalions worth. Like, hey, we surrender to you, tank battalion, just to give up. These were the stories we were told. I don't know if they were true, but this is the stuff we were being told. Which I wouldn't doubt actually, because why would they want to die? They have no shot against us whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching it on live television, and I was a kid, and I was like in awe, and it was called the shock and awe.
Yeah.
And the Iraqis had no chance. And I'm just wondering, if Russia wanted to do that to Ukraine, they can easily do it. They got the air force, they got the missiles, they got the weapons. They can easily do that. But they're doing things slowly. They're going. They're basically doing it methodically. They're trying to avoid as much civilian deaths as possible.
Yes.
Like right now, they're getting rid of people in Kherson. Obviously, they're gearing up for a big offensive there, but they want to make sure civilians don't get hurt. So there's a lot of civilians getting evacuated. So they're making sure of these things before they move on. I mean, when I saw that the power of the United States in the first Gulf War, I was in awe. But in the second Gulf War with Iraq, Iraq had nothing at that point. All of their weapons were dismantled. They had no air force. They had no missiles, and in the second, it was just massacre in the second one. And I was just watching.
No, you want to talk about war crimes? There's something called the Highway of Death. Go look at that. All civilian cars destroyed by us, completely annihilated. Just the whole highway, just dead people. Like they're just obviously trying to escape. I think we lit them all up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just look that up if you want to see some tragedy there. And again, we all know, what was her name? Was it Albright? Madeleine Albright?
Yeah, Madeleine Albright. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's worth it. 500,000 children starving. These are the psychopaths in power. This is the problem with these people. Yeah. They have no empathy. They're like monsters, literally demons if they were real, right? They're demons on earth here. It's sickening. And you would think there'd be revolutions from this, but no. People are detached from it. They have their own problems at home. They're swamped with their mortgage and debt and all this other stuff. So people don't have the energy to fight for this. And like, well, at least it's not me being bombed. At least it's not, well, maybe it will be you one day. God forbid, something happens. But, that's why it's important we push for peace and push against these wars, because it could happen to us one day. America's lucky. Listen, the last time we got bombed by an army, like a military, it was what? The Revolutionary War? I mean, we're not running around, hiding under desks in case something happens. We don't, the Americans don't understand what war is like. They don't, they understand 9/11, they understand Pearl Harbor, but that's not war at a scale where there are people invading your cities and you're under military siege. They don't understand that at all. We're so pampered over here in the West. In my country specifically, Europeans know war. They know World War II, but we don't. So like, that's why I think Americans are desensitized. Well, not desensitized. They don't know it, but they're so pampered and living in a bubble. Like, oh, whatever, well, whatever. God, it's like, you're lucky, but you should have empathy for people who are in those situations.
Sure. So as an American, what do you think about what's happening to Europe? And obviously Europe has been very much along with all of this, and a lot of them are, shooting themselves in the foot. They're following Biden off a cliff as well. I mean, do Americans care about what's happening to Europe? And I think you can see, like, with all the inflation, all the gas prices, everyone's not sure whether they're going to keep warm during this winter, whether they're going to have enough gas, or whether they're going to have enough food.
Do the Americans care about the Europeans? I don't know. I mean, most Americans are oblivious to what's happening. They still think it's Putin's price hike. There's my country's so divided, they don't even know what's happening anymore. It's the Democrats, it's the Republicans. That's all they know politically. Many of them don't understand what's going on in the world, which is ironic because nobody knew where even Ukraine was. I make a joke. Most Americans don't even know how to spell Ukraine, but now it's change your profile picture to the Ukrainian flag and send money and fight for Ukraine, democracy and love. But they're just doing what the media tells them to do, unfortunately. Are we going to feel it? Yeah, we're going to feel everything. We feel it at the pump already. I have family in Italy because like I said, I was born. Half of my family's in Italy. I hope they're going to be okay. But Italy is going to suffer. I think all of Europe's going to suffer if they don't stop this war as soon as possible. And that's what I'm saying to the Ukrainians. A lot of them are deluded that we're going to win. I'm like, you can't win by yourself. And even with all these arms you're getting, you're still not going to win. So you got to realize maybe you should get rid of Zelensky. Maybe you should get rid of him or something. Put someone else in there who's going to talk to the Russians or something. Because like I said, it's better to lose 4 regions than your whole country. I know it sucks. I know it's not cool. You don't understand. Every time I talk to you, you're not one of us. You're an American. You don't understand Putin. I don't.
Yeah, you got to look at the big picture. If Ukraine had settled a peace deal or implemented the Minsk agreements like they said they would, none of this would have happened. If they said that they're going to stay neutral, they're not going to join NATO, none of this would have happened. And again, the media likes to kind of paint it as Russia's fault. They've gone in with for no apparent reason whatsoever. It's all about black and white, or who's bad, who's good, but they don't look at why, the motivation, why Russia has done this. And if the ball was on the other foot, for example, like Russia decided to put nuclear missiles on Cuba again, I mean, how would the US react? Because I remember Blinken was in Congress, and Congress asked him that same question. Congress said, why are you allowing Ukraine to join NATO? Why can't you allow them why can't you tell them to stay neutral? And Blinken was like, oh, they're a sovereign country. They can do whatever they want. They can join whoever they want. It's their sovereignty. It's their choice. Was it Cuba's choice to host Russian nuclear weapons?
Yeah, my mic cut off. I hit the mic and I cut off. I don't know if during my rant there it cut off. But anyway, to answer your question.
Yeah,
to answer your question.
Yeah, same thing with China. If China decides to put nuclear weapons on, like Haiti or maybe Nicaragua or something, then US will be like, no, we're not having that. We'll go to war. We have
the Monroe Doctrine, but Russia.
That's right.
Who cares what they want? Who cares about their safety? That's how it is with us. It's hypocrisy. American exceptionalism is being the greatest hypocrites on the planet, who, by the way, we're the only people who use nuclear weapons on civilians. We're the only people overthrowing governments for the last, I don't know how many years now, decades. We've been at war, what are we, 247 years old, and we've been at war for like 220 years. 96% of our existence, we're killing people or funding the killing of people. Who the hell are we to say anything about any invasions at all? We're the biggest hypocrites on the planet, literally. We are the most dangerous empire in the last 70, 80 years, for sure. Now, to respond to that, if I always tell people that too, what if, China put missiles in Mexico or something? That the response is, well, what if Mexico invaded Texas and killed people? And then would you make a deal with them? Like, look, this is a very bad situation, right? But Mexico is not going to, Texas is not going to defeat Mexico by itself, And by the way, why did Mexico do that? Well, maybe people in Texas were killing people who were there in Mexico. There's more to the story. Like you said, they don't, as I said earlier in the interview, they start with invasion. Yeah, that's it. Invasion, madman, Hitler, Putler, now they call him. He just out of nowhere invades Ukraine for no reason. And then not only that, they're going to take all of Ukraine. He's going to take all of Europe. And at the other hand, he has no missiles left and his army sucks. Well, which one is it? Either he could take all of Europe because he's a madman with all the armaments, or he doesn't have anything and he's incompetent. Which one? You can't have both, but they're telling you both. That's the funny part. So no, I think this. Look, if the Europeans or the NATO thought Putin was really going to take they would have declared war instantly. It wouldn't have been a proxy war. Like, all right, Putin, you got to go. They would have done something like that. They wouldn't say, oh, okay, we'll see what the Ukrainians can do. No, this is clear that no one buys it. No one believes it. And no one thinks Ukraine can win. Nobody thinks they're going to win on their own. Nobody. So they're going to have help. And that help's going to run out because no one has infinite resources. and the people are getting sick. There's in France, again, there's parades over, not parades, protests there. There's protests in other countries in Europe too. It's not like Europe, or at least the people aren't unified with this. The politicians, of course, this is their war, but the people are sick of this crap. So
the media still believes Ukraine will
yeah,
win. I mean, it was only 2 days ago I read, I was reading the Evening Standard, and I saw an article about Russian people leaving the country because they don't want to be called up to join the army. So apparently they're all running to the borders and things like that, and they're losing. And apparently there's a big, nobody wants this war in Russia. Everyone's leaving the army, and the Ukraine's winning, and all sorts of crappy stories. You hear that every single day from the media. But there's a very important story that came out today. There were some leaked papers which got released, and coincidentally got released just before the midterms, and I think it was probably released on purpose. And apparently in it said that a lot of tech companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter even were working with the US government, and they were hiding, basically they were hiding people who were spreading the truth. They were pushing people who were spreading lies, using algorithms and stuff like that. Even Mark Zuckerberg had admitted this. And they were basically either banning people who were speaking the truth, or blocking them, or shadow banning them. And apparently this paper came out today, and it's all been confirmed. And this is one of the reasons why people get cancelled. People don't have a say, because if you try and speak the truth, your channel gets shadow banned or doesn't get spread out. But if you're spreading lies, if you're talking nonsense, you'll get millions of views somehow. You'll be out there. And these tech companies, they've just got too much power.
Too much power, yeah.
Do you think Elon Musk is going to make any changes? Well, but I think Elon Musk is pretty much a puppet as well. I mean, he's helping.
He could be. I mean, he's also his own weird kind of guy, unpredictable.
Yeah.
Like Trump, I think, is a puppet too, in the sense that he can't do whatever he wants. AIPAC owns him as well, and the Israelis, and he'll do what they're told. But he's unpredictable. He might say something true in the worst time. Like he brought back a sense of nationalism to the American people. That's a threat to the globalists. You don't want any inkling of that. So even though they have their skeletons in their closet, who knows what Trump's been involved in, who knows what Elon really is, I don't know. But the fact that they're pushing for free speech, Elon is, with the Twitter thing. He invited the ADL to have this. I mean, come on, for Christ's sake. But I think it's going to change a little bit. It's not going to make you say whatever you want. I mean, people are saying whatever they want right now, and they're kind of testing the waters on Twitter, which is kind of silly. But I think he's, he somewhat cares about humanity. He wants to get to Mars. He understands that we will go extinct. And someone like that, let's suppose he's a genius and he's like a little, strange in a way. He's eccentric like that. He might not be able to be easily controlled, So but that's these people in power want sycophants who take orders. So even if Elon had a little bit of puppetry, he's still unpredictable. It's like that one.
Yeah, completely agree.
So it's like, I don't
completely agree. Yeah, the reason I say that is because his Stargate or
Starlink, I think.
Starlink is basically active in Ukraine, and he's helping obviously the Ukraine military, but he's also activating his Starlink in Iran as well, helping the protests.
Well, he shut off the Ukrainian Starlink and they turned it back on, because they were who knows, the military was threatening to turn it on. I mean, he's still doing it. Who knows what they're telling him to do? But people like Elon. I mean, I hope he changes Twitter for the better. It shouldn't be where. Because all these anti-free speech groups like the ADL and SPL, all these people, we have a block button. If you don't like the message, just convince people to block them. But they want control of every stupid and everything's anti-Semitism, everything's racism and homophobic, everything's evil. That's just the political correctness that they want to control the narrative.
Exactly, and it's happened last few years. I think it happened when Trump came into power, and I've noticed these things when people were not allowed to say whatever they want. It's not just about Ukraine; it's a big picture. If you say something about wokeism, for example. You get cancelled.
People got banned for saying "learn to code." They were banning people for saying that, the "learn to code," and so now people are saying "learn to code" just to test it out. So there is already a change in free speech. Like there's only 2 genders; they're not getting banned for that. So there's already changes from Elon already. It's already been done. So we could prove that right now, because if you said that earlier, he would have been banned.
Yeah, exactly.
So there already are changes from Elon Musk. The thing is he pushing power to the right-wing imperial globalism? You know what I mean? So in my view, there's 2 types of globalism. You got the neoconservative globalism, then you have the George Soros open society globalism. They both want to take over the world, but they have different ways of doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's my view. So I tell people, don't look for a savior. Don't look for Elon Musk or Trump or anyone else to save anybody. And that's the problem. People are like, oh, we need a strong leader to save us. I don't think it's coming. And even if they exist, even if Trump was the guy everyone thought he was from 2016 in his campaign, he's only one guy.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a treacherous snake, and they're going to do everything to stop him, which they did. So it's the president. They make people think the president's like Hollywood movies. Get the president. He's the most important person. He's nothing. He can't do anything without Congress. He can't do. You see what I mean? So just one person against everyone else who's a traitor, he's going to be cornered. Right. So that's what they did with Trump anyway. Even if he was that guy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing good about Trump, he always when he spoke his mind, and he spoke the truth. When for example, why is U.S. troops in Syria? He said, "Oh, we're there to take the oil." He just said it straight away.
Why are we in the Middle East? We're there for Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Which is true. I mean, there's no point.
What do you want Israel to leave? What do you want us to do? It's like, how about we don't go anywhere?
Exactly. And he also said that Ukraine was the most corrupt country on earth.
Right.
He also said that.
And he said, "What is it bad to be friends with Russia? Is it a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing?" So that's the thing about Trump. He said things like that, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, did he just say that?" That's the thing. So Elon and like Trump is unpredictable. They're not politicians. They're not.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember Trump also mentioned that in his in a couple of interviews afterwards, or in his memoirs as well, that he used to have daily meetings with the FBI, CIA, and a couple of people giving him daily briefings, and he just stood up and say, "Look, this is all bullshit. I don't believe any of this shit." And he stopped having these daily meetings with them because he just had no confidence in what they were saying. And sometimes he speaks his mind, and you gotta kind of give him that. But compare him to Biden. Biden's God,
Biden's obviously worse. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. Like the establishment will put up Trump versus Hillary. Okay, you're not going to pick Hillary. Trump versus Biden if he runs. I think he's going to probably. Did he announce today that he's going to run? I think
he did. Yeah, he did.
He did say he was going to run. Okay, so now it's going to be Trump. I don't know if DeSantis is going to. Maybe he's going to. I don't know. He's going to be a competition.
But he might change. It depends on the midterms. If they lose really badly, I guess.
But look, either way, it's like, can't we do better than this? Of course we can, but the system makes sure we get these people to select the lesser two evils.
Yeah, exactly. And you just got to look at the second person in charge, Kamala Harris. I mean, she was there she was there. That's probably one of the best chess moves I've ever seen. You put somebody like that in second in power, and that keeps you in power because you know that the second in charge is more dumber than you are. Nobody's gonna stand for it.
Yeah, like I at this point, America is just the laughing stock of the planet, and that's why the Iranians call us the Great Satan, and I don't disagree at all. And that's coming from a former Marine who fought for this country, and I agree with everyone who tells us what we are. We are the Great Satan. We are deceivers. We are degenerate. We are unhealthy physically and mentally. We are going down the drain, literally, and I'm seeing it unfold. And having 2 children, I'm concerned. So now as a father, I got to be a parent and protect my kids from the degeneracy in the schools. So, I tell people, don't look up to any politician to save anything. They're not going to save anybody. They're not going to stop anything. You have to do it. You have to stand up against vaccine mandates and mask mandates and whatever else. It's not going to be them. They're easily bought and sold, or they're all not sold. They're all bought already. So, they're allowed to be, politically incorrect within a certain box. They can't go outside of it. You see, so it's a good cop, bad cop. So a lot of Republicans like DeSantis has a lot of common sense stuff, but he doesn't go too far to he won't call out the Federal Reserve. He won't call out the banking cartel or He won't do that. He'll just, drag queen story. Oh yeah, Mr. DeSantis. You're not solving the problem that our country is run by bankers that are oligarchs. You're not solving it.
Yeah. Hey, look, I respect DeSantis. I respect him because he stood up to the most evil, corrupt business in the world, which is Disney. They were out there, polluting kids in schools, teaching them their woke nonsense and things like that. And DeSantis is the first governor who actually stood up to that.
But here's my point I'm trying to say, Jay. That's common. That should have been done by anyone. So the fact that he's the one doing, the good cop. I'm not saying don't vote for. I'm just saying for me, I look at politics, dog and pony show. You have the worst type, Biden, versus this other guy. You're going to pick the other guy, but that's still part of the system. So it's an illusion of choice, but you don't have a choice because they're already set in front of you. Here are your candidates. This guy is less bad than this guy. I'll go with the less guy, but this guy's still working for the powerful swamp, which there's always they're all swamps. Everything's left wing swamp, right wing swamp. They just take turns. We're going to drain the swamp. Trump said, yeah, he just put neocons in another swamp. It's not like any different. So I'm not voting. I didn't vote yesterday or today. I don't care. I'm done. I did my. I voted for Trump when he ran the first time, and then he killed Soleimani and bombed Syria. So there's the blood on my hands. I'm not dealing with it ever again. So no thanks.
Sure. I know you mentioned before the call that you don't really care who wins, whether it's the Republicans or Democrats. But don't you think that if the Republicans win more seats, that this could be a way to exit from Ukraine? They might kind of start.
Yeah. What I'm saying, though, even though that's probably the case, it doesn't stop another war that the Republicans want somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the system is never challenged. These people in front of us that we choose, or we think we vote for, they're all safe. They're all kosher in the system. You understand? They're all allowed to speak in certain ways and have their little character. It's like a WWE script. If voting made a difference, they wouldn't let you vote. That's what I think. So yeah, could someone get through the cracks and get too popular? Okay, then they isolate them. You see. So think what you want of what's her name, Marjorie Green, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
a little wacky, but she really believes in her beliefs. And what do? They put her in a corner, or Thomas Massey put him in a corner. They try to demonize people in different ways, or that anyone who really has the American people's interest in mind, they corner them. And then
you're 100% right, and you're 100% right. I think if the Republicans do come into power, they're gonna be fed up of Ukraine. They're going to, what, we're fed up of giving money to Ukraine. Let's look for the next big thing.
Let's go to war with China.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing solved. I want to see a politician says, you know what, get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of the CIA, like Ron Paul. That's what we need. That's a guy who is running on real stuff, freeing the American people from this monetary debt system. The bankers are the number one enemy of all mankind. You don't even talk about them. How are you going to free this country? You see, because once they're buying everyone out, they have everything.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of that threat to this country, which we were warned by all of our forefathers, essentially, right? John Adams and everyone saying, don't give these people power; they'll take over your country. And we did in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act. We never addressed it ever again, except Ron Paul said we have to audit the Fed, whatever the hell that means, right? At least that's a start. So these politicians, they don't challenge the real people in power. It doesn't matter who wins. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Because look, DeSantis wins. Okay, Disney gets punished or whatever. Then he loses. The other guys do the opposite. Or executive order from Trump reversed by executive order by Biden. Back and forth, power struggle. Meanwhile, the bankers make all the money, stealing all of our wealth, taking all our resources, and they always win, no matter who's in charge. So
yeah, of course.
That's why I say, what's the point? What's the point?
Yeah, I remember the 2008 crash. The bankers caused it, but they're the ones that won most of all
and we paid for it.
Yeah, and it's the ordinary people who lost their homes, and these homes went into foreclosure, and then the bankers bought them up very cheap, and now they've rented them out, and obviously they're making money through rent. And this is what's going to happen now as well. People are going to lose their homes. The rich are going to buy these homes very cheap, and they're going to rent them for the future. So the ordinary people, the poor and the middle class, are being squeezed out. They're going to end up with nothing, while the bankers and the rich guys will end up with everything. And it's happening in UK as well. UK government is also run by the bankers. The bankers said no to Liz Truss, get rid of her, and they got rid of her. And and then Rishi Sunak is now basically doing everything that the bankers wanted. They kept he's released a cap on bankers' bonuses so they can make millions again, taking big risks and put the economy in jeopardy. So yeah, things are not looking good, and I think you're right, 100% right. Bankers and also fossil fuel people as well. I mean, you just see
there's these billionaire people that run the world that they're not elected. They're not politicians.
Exactly, and like BP and Shell in UK, they've made 80 billion in a few months of profit. 80 billion. Imagine if that money went into UK and helped the people, helped them with the bills and gas. It would have helped a lot. But this money is not going to the UK. This money is going to the shareholders.
Yes,
it's going to go to these corporate guys, and these corporate guys are not going to keep the money. They're not going to keep the money in UK. They're going to send it to offshore accounts, because that's what the rich guys do. They send it to offshore accounts. They avoid tax. They don't pay any tax on it. They send it to offshore accounts, buy properties all over the world. They're not going to even invest in their own country. They're going to buy it all over the world, Dubai or wherever these millionaires, billionaires buy it. And it just gets worse. I was going to also talk to you about Nord Stream 2. I mean, does everyone still believe? I mean, people in Britain believe that Britain did it, and a lot of people feel that the British did it. But it doesn't really matter whether the British did it or not. Obviously, the Americans knew about it as well. They probably, spoke to each other. And there's also a story about Liz Truss where somebody hacked her phone, and just after the Nord Stream blew up, she sent a message to Blinken saying it's done, apparently. And what's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you have any thoughts on?
Well, I think Russia did it. That's my opinion. That's a ridiculous propaganda. Yeah, the Russians did it. Yeah, the leverage they had over Germany and Europe, they blew it up themselves. No, clearly it was probably the work of the British and the United States discussing how important it is to take this leverage from Putin. It's probably what it was, and they did that attack there. Because if it was the Russians, how did they get there undetected in those waters? How did they? You know what I'm saying? Like the people don't have their narratives. Always there's always a problem with their narratives. So anyway, 100% it was the West, probably Britain and MI6. In fact, they say that the Crimean bridge attack was also MI6 involved too.
Yeah.
So the British are all over this attack.
Of course. And it makes sense for the British to do it, because do you know why? Since the Brexit, they cannot show the British people, and they cannot show the world that they are weak and Europe is strong. So anything they can do to weaken Europe, the British will be happy about that, And they know once this conflict is over, and once if Germany starts having a peace deal with Russia, and Germany starts getting cheap gas again from Russia, Europe will start shooting up again in terms of GDP. The economy is going to start shooting up. Britain's going to be left, in the dust, really. And this is all down to Brexit. I think a lot of people in Britain, they don't want to see a strong Europe, because they know Britain's absolutely destroyed. The economy is destroyed. The manufacturing is destroyed. So it's in their best interest to see Europe, the same thing happening to Europe as well. It's very much a case of jealousy. And I believe in one of those rooms when they were talking about something like that, and I bet a British person put their hands up in the air saying, I got an idea, let's blow up Nord Stream. And everyone was like, what? yeah, let's blow up Nord Stream. I'll do it. In fact, we'll do it. You guys just watch, and we'll do it.
The American, it's funny, the axis of evil, right? It's really America and Britain. Really, it's like we've always been the evil, But no, it's ridiculous how they would gaslight us with the Russians did it. And I'm like, why the hell would he do it? Well, because he wants to frame the Ukraine. What? Come on, man.
If you think about it, if the Russians wanted to do it, they would have blown up the Nord Stream pipes, which is near their borders, because it goes from the Russian borders all the way to the German border. Yeah. So it would have made sense for them to blow it up near the Russian
Ukrainians
border.
Did it. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's, again, these stupid narratives, they don't add up. But people know that it wasn't the Russians. Just like everybody knows Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah,
it's a known thing. Yeah. And people are still like, okay, in a sense, like, oh, well, we've been lied to. Oh, well, that's like the people are so beaten down this corruption. It's like it's normalized. It's very, very sickening. It's
Yeah, of
sad to
course.
see.
I mean,
It really is. But like I said, the people are so divided in every way, for politically, religiously, racially. That's why the media is always pumping out this critical race theory or wage pay gap or 95 genders, or because people are so they're so overwhelmed with so much domestic crap, they can't even think about the rest of the world. You know, oh, well, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline was blown up by us. Oh, well, I got to worry about this drag queen story hour at my school. And I got to worry about my mortgage. And I got to worry about how much this food costs. And I got to worry about diesel prices and gas. And that's why the people they're so beaten down and exhausted from just trying to make ends meet. They don't have time to revolt. You know, I thought, listen, if there was a time for revolution globally, it should have been with COVID. Lockdown should have been it. And I saw the people fall for it. I was like, oh, it's over. They can do anything they want now. Literally, can do anything they want at this point.
That's right.
Sadly.
So. Yeah. So my question is, why do you think the European leaders are going along with it, destroying their own economies and destroying their own countries and putting such, hardships for their own people? Well, why do you think they're doing this? I mean, it just makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, I don't understand why they're probably taking orders from the United States. It's really what it is. The U.S. is telling them what to do. And I think, like Germany, they say it's still occupied. You know, they say the Germans have never been unoccupied ever since World War II, that we're still there technically. We never not declared war or something like that. But I don't know why. But, we're seeing a rise in nationalism. We're seeing Italy, for example, with Meloni coming to power. We see others like Orban, like resisting things. So I think this is going to push people into more nationalism. Eventually, the European people are going to revolt at some point. They have to. But why would they purposely cause these problems? I have no idea. This is insane.
It just makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. I don't see the end game.
I mean, you've seen previous European leaders. The last great French leader was Jacques Chirac, who stood up against the Iraq War, and he just said in front of Bush's face, he says, "I do not believe you. This is all bullshit." He just said that. And then you had Merkel as well, he was famously standing up against Trump as well many times. And there's a picture of her literally on the table, towering over Trump, and she was one strong woman. And even before her, Schroeder, I believe, he was pretty good as well. I just do not understand where all these weak leaders have come from in the world. I mean, I'm not just talking about Germany. I'm talking about UK, France. Is it me, or are the Western leaders getting more and more dumb every single year?
Well, actually, now I think about it, with the Klaus Schwab Great Reset type of thing, it would actually benefit if everything started collapsing, because then they could come with the solution, right? So, oh my God, this isn't work. Well, we got to try this new stakeholder capitalism. You won't own anything, but you'll be happy, right? Remember that whole thing? So that could be the reason why they're purposely demolishing everything so that we could bring in the Great Reset. Now that I think about it, that actually makes a lot more sense. So this system would collapse. Oh, we tried. We got to try something new. Okay, here's the new thing. We'll own everything. You guys could be serfs, and you just rent everything you want. That's what they're trying to push.
So because this is the way things are going. Because the way the inflation is rising, with the way interest rates are rising, there's going to come a time when people are not going to be able to afford food. They're not going to be able to afford to keep their homes because the interest rates have gone so high. They can't pay their mortgage. The banks will take it. And a lot of people will lose their homes. A lot of people will not know whether to keep their children warm or keep their children fed. All the bankers and all the rich will come and take up all of their homes very cheap, like in foreclosures, like they did in 2008. And I think it is heading that way. And you can see the debt United States has right now, 31 trillion and counting. And that's going to shoot up now because the interest rates have obviously gone up. So imagine, the interest rates. Imagine the interest rates on 31 trillion. I mean,
there's no paying this back. It's
no way. Scheme. I mean, the interest rates will be more than any average country makes in terms of GDP. It's crazy the amount of interest on that. So there is no way the United States, like you said, can pay that back. And the only way to get rid of it is hyperinflation and a great reset. And I think that's the only.
Back in the day, a lot of empires would they just get rid of the debt. They'd have a ceremony like, oh, we're no more debt. and just start over. I mean, I wish that would happen, but they're not going to let that happen. They're going to enslave us even further with this whole. I think the Great Reset is that's what it's coming down to. So that would make total sense now that I think about it. Collapse everything, and then this other system will save us. Problem, reaction, solution, right? That kind of thing. They create the problem. You get reactions to, oh my God, and then they have the solution to the problem they started.
Exactly. Are you a film buff? Do you watch films? I mean, this Nord Stream stuff looks like something out of Mission Impossible, and I've got a vision of Tom Cruise jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah, it was Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and he just jumps into the water, grabs hold of an underwater drone, and goes in there, lays a couple of bombs, and when he's about to go to the surface, his foot gets stuck somewhere, and he has to get out, and he's got a couple of seconds left to survive, and he managed to set himself free, and last seconds these pipelines blow off, and that's it, Mission Impossible done. It does look like one of those Mission Impossible things. The funny thing is, you see in social media, mainstream media as well, they don't even mention these stories. It's just complete silence. If they knew that Russia did it, or if they had any sort of inkling it was Russia, it would have been all over the papers and every single day. Russia terrorists, look what they've done.
Yeah, but, and they would have proved it too.
Yeah, the fact that it's so silent, it just goes to show how they're trying to hide things. So we're coming up to 1.5 hours now. I'm not going to keep you much longer. Okay. Do you have anything more to say? Do you have anything more to say about before we close this?
Well, the only thing I can say is, don't underestimate the power of telling people the truth, but don't only rely on that, because people say the truth will set you free. Yeah, but you have to act on the truth. So everyone knows smoking is bad, yet people still smoke, right? So you have to act on the truth, and not every one of us has power. We're not politicians, so take the truth and act within your own community, with your family. Do what you can in your life to lead by example. That's what I've been doing lately, and it's basically changed my life. I basically was never going to say anything political ever again. Then I made that video that just went viral because I had to say something, and I said it with such passion, and I was being neutral. I was appealing to both the Ukrainians and the Russians, but apparently being neutral is evil, and calling for peace is not good. So anyway, but all I can say to the audience here is, don't give up on, telling people the truth, and try to look at people like they're sick. Like don't get mad at other people, because I used to do this years ago. I used to disparage people. Oh, you're an idiot. How do you believe that? You're so stupid, right? So imagine like if you went to the doctor and you say, doctor, I'm saying, oh, you're so stupid. Get out. You got to treat them like they're sick of something. They're like, okay, this guy is he's coughing on me. He's got an issue. To have compassion with people who are deluded, because there was a time where I was deluded. If you told me don't go to Iraq, I'd be like, you're a traitor to the United States. I would have said that years ago, you see, when I was a Marine. So all of us at some point we didn't always know the truth. So have compassion when you run into someone who doesn't get it yet. Show them the facts, show them, be nice and kind. What if, and ask them Socratic method. Well, what if this is the case? How do you know that's true? Don't be like, you stupid liberal, you stupid communist. Don't do that, because I used to do that. It doesn't work. It makes people even worse. You will run into people, however, like I did today, that no matter what you say, they're going to say, I hope you die. I hate you. And that's at that point, you just say, okay, good luck, brother. I hope you find peace, and let them go. But don't waste. But if there's someone willing to have a civil discourse, keep it civil. No ad hominems. Don't disparage them. And don't call them crazy. Say that what they think is a little. Don't you think it's a little off, brother? Don't you think it's a little crazy to think that? Like, not you're crazy, but isn't that a weird situation? You really think the Russians would blow up their own pipeline? Why would they do that? How does that make sense? Those kind of questions, and treat them like a patient, and you're the doctor. And I promise you guys, you'll be able to wake people up better. So I've been doing that lately. It's been way more positive than I did before. And I want to leave that piece of advice with all the listeners, because again, it's good that we have these shows. It's good that we're sharing this information, but it's even better if we convert people to the truth. That's the real meaning of this. We could talk amongst ourselves. We all know the truth, or what we think is the truth, right? But we tell people and they don't listen. Well, it's best to have them to wake up. So you got to do it in the right way.
So Lucas, I got one more question I've written down. I've completely forgot to ask you, and it's quite important actually. We know that the United States is going through a de-dollarization process at the moment, and the rest of the world seems to be dumping their dollars. my question is, obviously President Xi is going to Saudi Arabia next week, or could be even this week, and he would probably announce Saudi Arabia to join the BRICS.
Mm.
And once they join the BRICS, they're probably going to be doing some sort of reserve currency, a brand new reserve currency, which is going to take over the dollar. Do you think the United States will stand for that, or do you think they'll have to go into Saudi Arabia and invade? Like,
I don't think they're going to be able to this time. You see what I mean? I mean, if the Russians and Chinese are going to help Saudi Arabia, then I don't know. I don't think so.
But there's a huge amount of troops in Saudi Arabia, US
Mm.
troops, and they obviously all of the weapons that Saudi Arabia has are US weapons, and US can easily stop them at any point,
They could
because of
certainly kill people. I just don't know. I mean, look, the fact they're even abandoning this now is like a really big slap in the face to America. Well, not to me and you. I'm glad. I'm glad my country no longer has hegemony over the world once this happens. I'm willing. And I told people this is the best thing that ever happened. Stop policing the world. Become isolationists. No more foreign aid. Close the border for 100 years. Let's fix our problems at home. Let the world deal with itself.
sure,
We're lucky that the whole world isn't declaring war on us for what we've done. We're getting away, in a way, we're getting away with it. So let's just take
yeah.
this loss and go. I
But,
hope the Americans don't invade Saudi Arabia or do what they have to do there. I mean, they could. I'm not saying it's not
yeah,
possible. They assassinate some prince or something.
mm.
But if they have the backing of China and Russia now, and I don't know, man. You think they'll assassinate somebody at the top there for doing this?
I just think that if the dollar keeps, if the world keeps dumping the dollar and the reserve currency of the dollar keeps going down, and
Yeah, well,
Saudi Arabia,
right. Yeah, I agree with
yeah,
that.
and Saudi Arabia
Petrodollar's finished.
agrees to kind of do petrodollar in a completely different currency, like the BRICS currency, for example. I think that if uh, the oil prices, if they keep going up in United States, and this is going to be looking very bad for Biden, and they're gonna come a point when the oil prices go so high that there's going to be people rioting in the streets, because when the
I
oil
did. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I think when oil prices go high, I think that's when people kind of really rise up, because everything else goes up as well, because you got to transport goods, for example, in
Mm-hmm.
supermarkets, so all the goods will go up as well, and then gas prices, and it just adds so much to inflation. And I just think that I don't think the United States will sit there and take it. They will have to do something, and one of the things they might do. I mean, one of the reasons they went into Iraq, for example, it was because
Well, right.
Saddam Hussein was he agreed to sell oil in other currencies. So
Sure.
they did the same thing to Gaddafi as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe if this happens to Saudi Arabia, they might do the same thing.
It's possible, but also I spoke to my brother-in-law about this. He's in fight. He says, maybe it'll ruin us, but we could just start drilling for oil again. We have enough oil for ourselves anyway, which is strange.
Yeah,
I don't know why we depend on OPEC regardless. We shouldn't. We should be
yeah,
autonomous in this way. But maybe that's what will happen. Maybe the United States will say, all right, well, if there's a coup or something we failed to do or something, we just have to drill our own oil. That could be it. But yeah, I wouldn't put it past some kind of assassination attempt or false
mm,
flag or something like that. But the world is sick of America. That's why this is happening. That's the Saudi Arabians are willing to leave us because we're unpredictable. We probably would kill them. That's why they're probably like, we need new friends, right?
yeah,
So Russia has been smart. China has been smart about it. We're just waiting for us to collapse. And it's happening right before our eyes in every way, financially, economically, morally, spiritually, nationally. Our culture is just what culture? What's it? I don't even know what American culture is at this point. Everything's falling apart and everyone sees it. And I think that's the move. The Saudi Arabians are going to go to the winning team, which is going to be the multipolar world that is unfolding before us. It's inevitable. You know why it's inevitable? Because nothing lasts forever. America cannot be the global police forever. And we've done so much damage so quickly.
yep,
The world's tired of it. So I don't blame the world for hating us. I don't blame
yeah.
anyone leaving
I
us.
I think they could have stayed forever. Well, I mean, there was a point when United States was really admired around the world.
Yeah, well,
The Chinese loved the American culture at one point, because I lived in China and they loved the
mhm.
American culture. And all of Asia, really, all of Asia, Middle East. but they ruined it. I just think they just ruined it with all these sanctions and
wars and death.
wars and
Yeah,
hegemony. They had the chance, and I think people got sick of it. And I think if they kind of left, if they kind of left, if they went so crazy with sanctions and wars and stuff, I think they would have been fine. World would have been fine as the US being the hegemon, being the world's police. But I think they just kind of ruined.
No, they ruined it, of course. But I mean, even so, nothing. But even so, in physical nature, nothing lasts forever anyway. So it's inevitable; it would collapse regardless. I'm speaking as a philosopher now. I'm not a politician. So inevitably, we would have collapsed regardless. Yeah. But here we sped it up way quickly than we had to. So.
Sure. Okay, I'm not going to keep you in much longer because I know you have to go back to your family. Sure. I really appreciate your time, Lucas, and really enjoyed speaking to you. I think the viewers want to know, would you come again at some point in the future?
Of course. Just let me know. I'll come back and talk whatever.
Excellent.
It's always a good time to talk to people of like mind.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I really enjoyed talking to you. And it was something different from Redacted. I think I asked you a lot of different questions.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely went on different topics. Sure,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Excellent, but I think you should carry on. I think definitely you should probably do more of your YouTube channels. I think a lot more people want to listen to what you have to say. You've got a lot of great knowledge, and I think a lot of people will listen to you. And like you've seen in the Iraq War, the truth does come out. Eventually.
Yeah, over time when the damage is done, but
the damage is done. Like that girl, like the Iraqi girl who was saying, that Kuwaiti girl who was saying about the incubators. The truth came out years later, and I can see in like 2-3 years later, all the papers coming out saying Zelensky was a real Nazi, and all of these Azovs and Nazis. They were so corrupt, and they were the bad guys. They fooled us, and I can imagine these stories coming out. But right now, they just kind of trying to block all of that information.
Yep.
All right, Lucas, appreciate your time. Thanks for everything. Thanks for all the moderators out there. Thanks for everyone that's listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And thanks for your time, and I'll see you guys soon. Lucas, just gonna hold on for a second while I shut this down. I want to say goodbye to you properly.
Okay. Take care, audience or chat.